Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. It's so good to be here again with all of you. This talk is going to focus on the upcoming energy of the dragon, which is starting in a couple of days. Today is April 3rd. The official shift into the new month is in exactly 2 days. I've been doing this monthly talk every month since August of last year. So if you are interested in kind of learning, going back in time, tuning into some past talks, they are available on YouTube. Usually for those that are a little bit newer, I do encourage you to perhaps go back and listen to them. Maybe look through your journal, maybe look through the pictures on your iPhone to see what was going on during that time, because it's a good starting point to trigger some memories, because it's just really good to decompress from understanding the elements and how they impacted you and how each month kind of catapults you into the next. And so here we are in the month of April, and this brings us to the Dragon Month. The Dragon Month is or the dragon element itself is a very special animal sign. It will grace us on April 5th, and it will be here until May 6th. Always try to remember that we don't follow the Gregorian calendar, so it always kind of teeters over to the first week of every month. This is based on the solar calendar. So the dragon belongs to the earth element, and it is considered the second strongest earth sign. There are 4 earth signs, okay, total, and this is the second strongest earth sign. And you can think of what is earth. Earth is like the mountain, right? Earth is like the building. Earth is like the bridges. It needs strong foundation, right? You can't have a shaky ground and expect the mountain or the building or the bridge to stand still. And so you can imagine with all of the dynamic energy of February and March as we begin the year of the rabbit, there's just a lot going on, right? Whether there's a lot going on internally in our mind, in our physical bodies, or even in our own spirit. Remember that the rabbit year is the embodiment year. It's the year when animals are having babies and Mother Nature is alive and full of activity, full of life. And so a lot of us kind of welcome or entered into 2023 with a lot of energy, a lot of goals, a lot of things we want to get going. We're also eager to see how we've planted the seeds in the previous year. How is that going to flourish this time? So April, the dragon month, is basically an essential time where we take a little pause, okay? Just imagine when a mother gives birth to a baby, all right? She doesn't immediately go back to work. She doesn't immediately go back to her routine. She needs to take a moment to allow her body to rest, to recover, to adjust to her new life as a mother, right? And another person to care for. So I want you to think of that. Whatever projects and endeavors and relationships that you've undertaken since February and March, at the beginning of this new year, April is this wonderful time to reset, to take a moment, to take a breath, take a beat. And I promise you're not going to lose anything. You're not missing out on anything. So don't have that fear of missing out syndrome. It's okay to say no to things. It's okay to prioritize stillness and quietness in your routine. Because remember that the dragon belongs to the spring season, okay? It's still part of the springtime. And when I'm talking about the season, I don't necessarily want you to look outside your window and go, Jen, I don't know if spring is really here or what. I could have people tuning in from Australia, and certainly it's the opposite. It's wintertime over there. But I want you to just use your imagination to envision what that spring energy looks like in your mind. And so the dragon is part of the spring season, but it is also the transition that's preparing us to move away from the springtime, getting into the summer season. And that's why you have all these earth elements throughout the season, and these earth elements represent the pause, the beat. And so when we come back to the body in Chinese medicine, please make sure you're on mute so we don't have any feedback if you're having conversations on the side. When we're talking about it from the Chinese medicine perspective, earth element is referring to our stomach. It's the central region of our body. And what resides in the central region of our body is our stomach and our spleen. And those are the two essentially basic, but important organs in our body that does a lot of job, and a lot of people in the medicine world say that our gut is the second brain, right? And so it's really coming back to the root of what it means to be here. It's a time of remembrance of, wait a minute, why am I doing what I'm doing? Maybe I'm being pulled in 400 different directions. And while they may feel good and they may feel intentional and purposeful, I need to take the time this month to remember why I'm doing what I'm doing. And so the theme is taking stock. You're just kind of taking a quick inventory to say, all right, I have these goals, I have these dreams, and maybe they're in motion, but I'm just remembering a little bit, why am I doing this? Refreshing that a little bit. And it's also a time of receiving. The dragon is a very spiritual element. It is just like the dog sign, these two animal signs are set aside from the rest of the animal signs because they are very special. They are connected to the spiritual realm. That's why we call it the gate to heaven and hell. It has a very special terminology. And so when we're taking stock and when we're receiving, it's kind of like we're just taking a step back to allow the divine to work with us, to allow God to whisper into our ears, to allow inspiration to have a download, right? It's really, really difficult to receive these information when we're too noisy and too busy. And so just giving yourself 30 days or so to just kind of ease up on your schedule wherever possible. And for some of us, maybe we're just too busy. We have children, we have obligations and all the things. And so you have to ask yourself, how do I create, the stillness that I need throughout my day? For some, maybe you can take a whole extra day, right, in the week to just be. But maybe for some of us, we can't afford it. And so how are you going to create those moments of stillness throughout your day? Maybe it's waking up 15 minutes early. Maybe it's having a conversation with your spouse to say, I'm going to need a half hour at the end of the night, to perhaps take a bubble bath, to be on my own, or I just need to be in a corner outside in the garden. To decompress, maybe to journal, maybe to say a different kind of prayer, whatever it is that resonates with you. I think this is such an important time to kind of take stock and receive inspiration so that you can transform this into something more useful, more productive, especially when we go into the month of May. Okay, so the dragon is, like I said, a very special animal sign. I described the dragon like this. It marks the beat or the pause between the spring and the summer season. It's helping to prepare us for the fire energy. When you think of fire, there's a lot of momentum in fire. There's a lot of passion, a lot of energy, vitality, even the words and the way that I'm describing them, it's like full on, right? And so if you're not grounded, you're kind of spastic, all over the place, you're tired, you're stressed, there's too many things going on, then it's not going to be very productive for you to go into the summer months off kiltered. And so this is so essential for you to just take a beat. So these are just some phrases every month I always like to give. Maybe this is part of your prayer list or how you're envisioning the theme of April, making space, making room. I think it's important to take a moment to pause and observe what is happening around you. Part of this is also if you're if you're socializing with friends, for example, maybe it's you just pausing to listen, right? Maybe we're so used to engaging all the time and offering solution and always trying to be that helper. Perhaps the calling is just for you to pause and to listen and to hold a space for someone, okay? And because this is a spiritual element, this is a call to action for us to cultivate a deeper sense of faith. Whatever that faith-based practice is for you, it's important to kind of go back there, ask yourself, have I kept a consistent routine in my life to work on my spiritual practice in order for me to stay mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually grounded in what I am doing? If the answer is no, because you got kind of cuckoo, then April is an invitation for you to kind of reintegrate that back into your life, okay? Oopsie, let's see here. So the essence of all things is energy, right? You and I, we're energy beings. Our homes is full of energy, food, creatures, all the things. And so a lot of our vibrancy is really dependent upon the unrestricted flow of energy that is the source of good health and wholeness, right? It's the way we can think clearly. We can make decisions with strong conviction. You know, we're not wishy-washy and doubting ourselves, you know, or the inability to make a decision, right? So when we allow this, the channel to be open and free, then we have a clearer sense in discerning what works and what doesn't work. And so at the end of the day, it's our way of cooperating with Mother Nature in saying, ultimately, we get to choose what and how this energy is going to impact our lives, okay? So that's the theme for April. Now, remember I said the dragon is special. It's special because there is no Nobleman month. There's no Nobleman energy in the month of April. Now, there are Nobleman days, okay? So if you know your BaZi and you've worked with me in the past, you might be able to distinguish what those days are, particularly if you have the Chinese calendar, the one in English, then you can look at the calendar to say, okay, you know, today is my Nobleman day. Or if you follow me on Instagram every day, then you can see, okay, today's my Nobleman day. But overall, the month of April, there's no Noblemen, no angels, okay? So people are like, oh my gosh, what does that mean? It just means maybe we have to work a little bit harder, all right? That's why we have to be more deliberate in what we are trying to do. Generally speaking, April is not the month where we want to launch anything big and anything new, right? Because the days that are auspicious to us is so limited, right? When we have a whole Nobleman month, that's much easier, right? To pick and choose the dates. But when we don't have that option, because it's absent of Noblemen in April, the auspicious dates are very, very limited, okay? So if you do have something that you need to launch, meaning it cannot wait until next month, then it's best to maybe message me, and perhaps we need to just check your BaZi and see if we can find a better date for that. Moreover, April is not a peach blossom month to anybody. So we kind of are experiencing the extremes. You see, we come into March. March is like double, triple peach blossom, double, triple Nobleman. You see, there's a lot of energy kind of floating around there, being shared amongst each other. So even though it may not be applying to you, you might be interacting with people who are experiencing that double, triple Nobleman, double, triple peach blossom. Well, now we're kind of like on the opposite spectrum in the month of the dragon. It's like none of this is here, okay? So elementally speaking, Mother Nature is saying, take a pause. Take a pause from needing to push, take a pause in socializing, you know, or meaningless socializing, right? Do I really need to go to that networking event right now? You know, do I really need to say yes to that party right now, right? So it's just begging us to be a little bit more intentional in what we're doing. But there's always a clash. Nobody is immune to clash. But I was talking with a dear friend today, and I was reminded that I always have to remind people that clash is not a bad thing. Okay, clash is an essential ingredient to allow new experiences to happen in our life. But clash brings change. And not all of us are always comfortable with change. People who say that they love change only love change because they think they're in control. All right. And so that's part of the dilemma when it comes to clashes, because part of it, we don't have control. We don't know how God, the universe, the stars, the elements are going to present changes in our lives. And so it's just a call to action that we need to be more flexible. You know, we have amazing imagination as human beings, but our imagination is also limited. It's limited to what we know. It's limited to what we're willing to accept, you see? And so when we have clash, a clash just simply means we need to be open. We need to be open to what comes, because sometimes the clash is needed in order to push us in ways that we otherwise probably wouldn't, choose to go. All right. So anyone who has a dog sign in their BaZi chart, that means the month of April is a clash. It's a great time for expansion. It's a great time to, but clash also means endings. Endings, like what do you want to end in your life? Maybe it's a thought. Maybe it's a bad habit. Maybe it's a toxic relationship, that you just want to kind of take a pause from. Say, you know what, I'm going to break away from that habit, or I'm going to take a break, from nurturing that relationship, if you will. So don't look at clash as necessarily a bad thing. So this is, if you have a BaZi chart and you've had one done from me, you can just simply look at your 4 pillars and see if you have a dog sign anywhere. That means this is a clash. All good, huh? This is when I have people that say, I can't sell my house. It's been on the market for so long. I've been putting my resume out there. No one's biting. I've been doing this and that, and nothing is happening, right? It seems stuck, even energetically stuck. I'm working out, I'm eating differently, but I can't lose weight. Something is just stuck. Clash is what makes all of those things move. And so that's why there is a need to embrace the clash in ways that is going to be healthy, but it's always about how are we setting ourselves up in order for us to be at a strong point, good grounded state to handle the clash. Okay. So here's the clash. This is normal. We've talked about this in the past, is change is coming. There's unexpected twists and turns, maybe your sleep is a little bit lighter. You have a lot on your mind, maybe you're dreaming more. You have a lot more unplanned activities. So that's the part where it's simplify, really saying no to those things. You're also impatient. When you're under clash, you're just like, gosh, needs to happen now. Why is it not happening now? So sometimes it means you can get easily flustered, easily agitated. So it's just being mindful. When these emotions pop up, don't feel bad. Don't feel like you're being hard on yourself. That's why we learn BaZi, because we want to understand how the energy is impacting us. So when you do feel agitated and you do feel like your day is a little bit cray-cray, you're not going to overthink this. You're not going to go off the rails. You're simply going to say, oh, it's just my 30-day clash. That's it. And then you move on. Okay. So that's how we're able to navigate the energy in a healthy and productive way without using this knowledge to kind of manifest, bad things. So these are a couple days in April to kind of watch out for. Okay. So you may want to take a snapshot of the slide or write this down. These are extra clash days in the month of April. So these are days better not to do anything important. In other words, no sales, closing meeting, no medical surgeries, no business grand opening, like anything where it is a big life event. So these are the days that you just want to keep your schedule a little bit more open, a little bit more flexible, and try not to overreact. Okay. I like to say that all the time because people do. Okay. I get messages and people overreact. And I always have to remind you, it's okay. It's just one day. You don't need to make huge life transforming decisions on these particular clash days. Okay. And also, when we talk about how the clash impacts us, obviously, it's going to impact us in the stomach. I think there's a question here. Let's see. Okay, the question is this only for dog and dragon signs? Correct. This is only for dog and dragon signs. But when you, if you're a public figure or you're a figure that interacts with the public quite often, you know, if you're a small business owner, you know, maybe you're in the healing work, maybe you're in, you know, kind of industry where you have to deal with different types of people. So even though you personally may not have a dog or dragon sign, you might be encountering a person, a client, a student, a friend who actually might be experiencing that clash. So this is just also your way of understanding that, you know what, this doesn't apply to me. This doesn't impact me. So perhaps it is just manifesting in their energy chart. And so I can, you know, set better boundaries to say, that's not mine. I don't have to be accountable to that. All right. So when we have clash like this, I think, you know, the dragon, like I said, is just an invitation, a beautiful time to kind of, I like the image of just kind of getting down on your knees, because it is a time of surrender, and it's a time to really, you know, with the taking stock is us just simply remembering what we're grateful for all the things that we have done up to this, you know, we're only, sorry, there's more people coming in here. We're only 2 months into the rabbit year, 2 months, not 4 months, okay? And so there's no need to panic, okay? There's no need to feel like we're falling behind. There's no need to have this sense of panic urgency that we always do, or that our society tends to promote. And so the challenge for each and every one of us is really that breath between all the things, you know, that breath of just taking a moment to get down on our knees, to take an inventory of all the things that we've done so far, to feel gratitude, and also to lean in again and trust ourselves. You know, we are a society of very technical, you know, we're very technical, very structured, you know, to-do lists, and everything is scheduled, you know, got to go here, got to go there. And I'm not saying we throw away the to-do list, especially if it works for you or if it's something that you need, but it's also just practicing to come back to our inner self. The truth resides in all of us. Just some of us are a little bit more attuned because we trust it, we practice with it, we experiment with it, and we play with it. And so I'm just asking each and every one of you that are tuning in, what can you do every day for 10 minutes, 5 minutes? Maybe it's driving if you're commuting, you know, to spend 10 minutes to remember about all the things that you have done so far and feel grateful for. And also, how can you listen and tap into that truth that sits right at the pit of your stomach? You know, it's a very hopeful time. If you think about spring, you know, the meaning of spring, this is when animals have babies, right? And the trees are lush and the flowers are blooming. It's the full expression of life and growth and expansion. And I really want you to work on that. I really want you to work on holding on to that and creating that inner world, you know, whether that's in your day-to-day or with your partner, right, or with your family or in your business, of how can you create a future that is very hopeful. And part of that is to practice humility and gratitude and trusting our intuition, but also surrendering and leaning into our faith. Everyone has a plan. Everyone has a purpose in this life. And so if you can take comfort in what's in your heart, genuinely what's in your heart and what you're being called to do, then you need to trust that, even if it's not happening as quickly as you want, even if it's not unfolding in the way that you want. Okay. There's a question. How would it be if someone has dog and rooster? Dog and rooster. It's still a clash. It's still a clash to the dog. Okay. It doesn't combine to the rooster and then no, you still have a clash. You still have to address the clash. Now, one thing I do want to point out about the dragon, it's very similar to some other animal signs that I won't talk about right now because I'm just focused on the dragon, is that it does also create this energy called self-penalty. And self-penalty, the way that I like to describe it is we self-sabotage. Nobody is doing this to you. You are doing it to yourself, okay? So the dragon has a tendency to push people a little bit, to question their intention, to doubt their intention. And the way that the self-sabotage happens is like this: if you were born on the day of the dragon, okay? So if you have your BaZi chart, you have to look and see what your day pillar is. And if your day has a dragon sign right here, that means the self-penalty energy is going to impact you this month, okay? So what does that mean? Well, here are some red flags, like procrastination, like, oh, I'll do it later, I'll work out later, I'll eat better tomorrow, or incessive need to make excuses. You ever find these people? It's like they always have an excuse for something, why they can't just move forward, why can't they just, do X, Y, and Z. When we self-sabotage, some people choose to self-medicate. They want to numb something, whether it's a feeling, a thought, or, whatever it might be. Suddenly they will try to self-medicate to avoid whatever is triggering them. And oftentimes the self-medication could be through overindulging, like binging. Binging can be like, I'm binging on Netflix. Like I could just watch 85 episodes all in one go. Excessive use of alcohol, like not so healthy. And other things like, drugs or gambling, right? Spending money. Retail therapy is once in a while is healthy, but I'm talking about the over excessive indulging, binging kind of behavior, because the self-sabotage behavior tends to push us to do the things we know we're not supposed to do. You see, consciously doing things you should not be doing. I have many clients who have this self-sabotage kind of tendency. Oddly enough, when it comes to April, they start smoking. But they would smoke in hiding. Like they'll hide it from their spouse, they'll do it late at night, or maybe, oh, I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night. I'm going to have that extra cupcake, when everyone's asleep. I know I shouldn't be doing it, but I do it anyway. And so it can be really trivial in that regard, all the way to something really bad, really excessive and not so healthy. So these are the bad habits that we tend to do. You see, nobody is forcing it down your throat. Nobody is doing it to you. It's just an energy that's coming into your life that's activating the tendency for us to self-sabotage. And for others, it's more like psychological warfare. It's in your mind, I'm doubting myself. I talk mean to myself. Jen, you're so stupid. Jen, you're not worthy of that. What is wrong with you? Oh, Jen, you're fat. Jen, you're this, right? So the excessive mean talk, or even self-neglect, like I don't want to care for myself, right? These are examples of self-sabotage when it comes to more of a psychological impact, more so than a behavioral kind of self-sabotage. So there's no magic potion to self-penalty. Some people are born like this. Some people are triggered. Okay, so in the month of April, people are going to be triggered, and people who are born with it are going to be extra triggered, okay, in the month of April. And so no magic potion, there's no tchotchkes, there's nothing you can do in your feng shui to like make this go away. Everything really boils back down to knowing yourself. You need to know yourself so that you can bring awareness to what kind of habits do you do, especially when you are stressed out. You know, ask yourself, when I'm stressed, when I'm not feeling well, when I'm out of balance, what do I do? Like, what do I do? And it tends to be things perhaps that are not so healthy. Maybe I just eat too much, or maybe I don't want to work out. Maybe I, lie to my partner, maybe I'm not honest about my feelings, whatever that might be, okay? So you have to acknowledge that you have this behavioral tendency. And I think it's also important to know why. Why do I do that? When I don't feel well, why do I spend money? Why? Because it makes me feel good. Why? Why though? Why does that make you feel good if it racks up your credit card? And so learning the why, as well as the source of the why. Where did that first come from? Oh, because my mom used to do that when I was a kid. Or, oh, I was told, that if you just buy something nice for yourself, it makes you feel good. So acknowledging and understanding the why and the source of why is important. Then and only then can you reframe the mind by replacing the behavior with something a little bit more productive and healthier. So instead of picking up that cigarette and hiding in the back from your spouse smoking, perhaps you just wake up, hide, maybe you go to a spare bedroom in the house and you sit down and listen to a motivational talk for 15 minutes, maybe a nice TED talk, or maybe it's to go around the corner and just write down your gratitude list, replacing that behavior with something more productive and healthy. Again, everyone is different. You need to ask for help. There needs to be a transparency. Self-penalty or self-sabotage is a secret. This isn't what people, oh, yeah, I tend to do all these things. We don't plaster it. We don't let anyone know. It's what we do in secret. And so when you can unsecret it, if that's just a word, but if you were to expose this behavioral tendency that you might have by asking for help, it actually is a lot more you can bring in someone that can keep you accountable, someone who knows the truth of what you're responsible. And perhaps it's also saying, you know what, I have a tendency to, when I'm stressed out at the end of the day, go to Starbucks, get a giant thing of tea, a venti tea, and then I sit in the patio and have a cigarette, right? That happens. Perhaps it's, you know what, maybe I'll go to Starbucks, I'll get that venti iced tea, but then can you be my accountability buddy? And I can give you a call and you can talk to me for 15 minutes or 10 minutes, right? So replacing again, that bad behavior with perhaps having someone who loves you, who knows you and who cares about you to kind of keep you in check, okay? Here are some examples. I always like to include examples of people's chart. You see Kristen Stewart is an example. She was born on the day of the dragon. So that means the month of April is going to affect her. She's going to have a self-sabotage, self-penalty. But look, she has 2 dragon sign. And in BaZi, when you have a dragon, when you were born on a dragon day, and then you have another dragon sign that is side by side. In other words, if she, like in her case, she has a dragon in the month, but let's say she has a dragon in the hour, that means her self-penalty is huge. This is very, very big. People tend to be very insecure, very, very, just really hard on themselves in their mind and in their body and their spirit. I don't know if you remember when she was dating, the Twilight guy, I forget his name, Rob Pattinson. She was already in a relationship, but during that period when she was making a movie, she started to have an affair with the director of the movie, and the director of the movie was married at the time. You see, self-sabotaging. She knows she shouldn't be doing this, but she does it anyway. And she also doesn't try to hide it. Okay. So it's actually not a very good behavior, but that was also during the period when her self-penalty was highly activated. Okay, so these are just some things we want to just pay attention to. This is a little bit scarier. I don't know if you remember this, but this is the kid who shot up Columbine in 1999. You see that he was born on the day of the dragon. And you can also see that he has another dragon sign that's side by side, because it has to be side by side. But actually, this BaZi chart is very, very sensitive, very precarious chart, because he actually, you see these two Chinese characters, they are also another set of self-penalty. So this human, when he was already born with a lot of insecurities, and perhaps we would even say hate, just a lot of frustration, frustration with himself and frustration with others. And the day that the shooting occurred happened to be the year of the rabbit, and the rabbit was a double clash to his chart, activating that self-penalty. It also happened to be in the month of April, which is the month of the dragon. So that also activated that double, triple, quadruple self-penalty. So he was just full of self-hate, so full of all that not so nice energy, not so nice element. But I just wanted to show you some examples. I'm not saying that if this applies to you, of course, it all is a matter of what we're bringing to the table, how much work we have done in our lives, how much awareness do we have of knowing ourselves. And if you think about what self-sabotage is or self-penalty is, it's an opportunity for us to be vulnerable, to say, you know what, I have a tendency to do unhealthy things when I don't feel good about myself. I need help. Can you help me? And it takes a lot of courage. But like I said, that's just the invitation for the month of April. So let's talk about Feng Shui really quick. So hopefully you already have your cure for 2023, right? In the east side of your house, you should have the 6 metal coins. In the northwest sector, you should already have your 6 metal rod wind chime. Keep it there for the rest of the year. Don't move it. Don't move it. Okay. But now we come into the month of the dragon, and we want to pay attention to the 2 and 5. Remember, 2 means sickness. Number 5 means misfortune. These are the stars that are going to be visiting our homes during the month of April, okay? And they move every month, okay? That's why, just like we have our ups and our downs, our houses also experiences these ups and these downs. So in the month of April, we want to take care of the north and the southeast sector of our house. So we're going to place another set of coins in the north sector and another set of 6 metal rod wind chime in the southeast sector. Then you got to also ask yourself, what's in there? What rooms are in the north and in the southeast sector of my house, of my apartment, my condo? If I'm sleeping in the north or I'm working in the southeast, placing those items means I'm going to help to suppress any negative energy that might be triggered during that time. But it's also understanding that, hey, maybe if I am sleeping in the north, my sleep might be a little bit affected. So I probably should either go to bed early, take, some melatonin, or, boost my immune system so I don't, catch a cold or something like that. Okay. So if you have questions about this, feel free to text me or email me. But as we conclude today's talk on the month of the dragon, just remember this, okay? This is really ultimately what the dragon is trying to teach us, okay? For all the clashes and the lack of, noblemen and the lack of peach blossom and the self-sabotage, at the end of the day, this is really the message for the month of the dragon. So however this dragon might impact you this month, whether it applies to you or it applies to your spouse, your children, this is what it's trying to call us to be. So if you have any questions, okay, so Brooke says, I have a 2-story house. Do I put the cure upstairs and downstairs? Yes, you have to take care of every floor because every floor has its own dynamic, and obviously different kinds of rooms. So you need to make sure you address every level. Okay, now that's it. I kept it nice, short, and sweet this time. Woo! Mark your calendars. We're going to talk about the snake month on May 1st. And the snake month is the beginning of the fire season, summertime. So take note of the dragon month. I wish you all the best. We have an in-person BaZi workshop. It's complimentary. We're actually pretty filled up for this now. So if you're interested in coming over, please make sure you register. It's going to be on tax day, April 15th, 10 to 11:30 a.m. in Scottsdale. This is only an in-person session. And then, of course, we have later this month, the formal Feng Shui course. It's going to take place in Scottsdale for 5 days. And don't forget to book your BaZi. Heidi, will you be sharing the recording of this presentation? It's going to be on my YouTube page. So you just go Feng Shui by Jen, and then you'll see that it will be uploaded there probably by tomorrow. All right, I'm here to take questions. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, guys. Bye.